the beginner's tutorial part for today. We're going to be working on the downward facing dog. So downward facing dog, you could come again from a tabletop position, and then you're going to just tuck your toes under and lift the hips up and then back. So down dog, the important thing here is this shoulder blade wrapping around sensation, very crucial concept to understand. So I'm going to come down and show you. Here, you want the shoulder blades to depress down your back, and then you have to wrap the shoulder blade around. So the whole thing here, when we lift our arms up, we want the shoulders to stay down. We don't want to scrunch up. So the way you achieve that is by the shoulder blades coming down, and you do this wrapping around sensation. See my hand? So that the bicep faces backwards and the tricep faces forward. The palm is facing back. The back of the hand is facing forward. So it's not like this, but I actually turn it as I keep my shoulder blade down. And then now when I lift it up, it has more range of motion and the shoulder does not come up to my ears. So I'll show you. Shoulder blade down, wrap it around, and then lift. And then when I lift, I'm actually lifting from the lats. See this area? So you want the slide and glide in your shoulder blades. If you have any dysfunction or a lot of junk stuck in this area, then it's going to be hard for you to achieve this, okay? So you actually have to work to loosen that up. Otherwise, you just make this trapezius area tighter and tighter, okay? This area tends to be overdeveloped on people. So again, shoulder blades depress and then wrap it around. So when I talk about wrapping around sensation, this is what I'm talking about. Shoulder blades down and wrapping so that the palm faces back, bicep face back. Triceps face forward, back of the hand face forward. So into our downward facing dog now, tuck toes under and then lift the hips up and back. So first we could just bend our knees. I'm going to focus on the hands from the fingertips to the shoulders. Have a look at your hands. The index fingers should be pointed forward and spread the other fingers away. Now, everybody's anatomy is different. So if you need to turn your hands out a teeny bit, that's fine. Just don't do too much. Just feel in your body if there's excessive pressure in one area and make those adjustments. But theoretically, index finger points forward. Now you want to press down through the finger pads, the root knuckles, the whole of the palm. So the root knuckles are these. The knuckles are right on your palm. Okay, because you have 3 rows of knuckles. You have these knuckles, right here, and then you have these, okay? So you want to really press down through the root knuckles, finger pads, the whole of the hand, and the whole of the palm, okay? You want the weight to be out of the wrist. So when you do this, first take a look at your wrist and make sure there's no crease. If there's a crease, that means I'm too far forward and I'm putting too much pressure into my shoulders, okay? So I push the whole palm down into the mat energetically. Then I shove that mat forward. You see this? As I push that hand down and forward, that shifts my hips up and back. So you want one straight line from the fingertips to your tailbone. You see this? You'll oftentimes see people here, and that's creating a lot of strain in the shoulders and is building up unnecessarily this really thick trapezius muscle there, and it'll just get tighter and tighter, okay? So you really want this opening. Thinking about the armpits opening up, yeah? You're like opening up the armpits like you're trying to get the armpits to the mat. So here I pull my shoulder blades down and I wrap them around. Good. Make sure that the space between your shoulder blades is full and rounded, not dipped, okay? So we want to keep the protraction like we learned about, then biceps forward and keep that. Maintain the integrity of the space between the shoulder blades as you shift back. You have to make sure the index knuckle, thumb knuckle, and the webbing in between are heavily rooted. What happens is because shoulders are tight, when people try to wrap the biceps up, they actually roll to the outside edges of their hands, and that's not what we want, okay? I won't go into the anatomy for that, but biceps up, even thinking about the armpits spiraling up, okay? All right, so that's from the fingertips to the shoulders pretty much in a nutshell. Now, the ribs. You don't want the ribs to collapse like that. You really want to find Tadasana, mountain pose. So draw your navel to your spine and pull your lower ribs closer together, okay? don't let them just spread apart. That's oftentimes what happens. So here, fingertips to tailbone is one straight line, biceps are up, I'm opening up my armpits. You want to think about the side body, side waist getting longer, okay? And not like that shortened, okay? So the navel draws in. All right, good. So here, then as we move up the body, we want the tailbone to tilt upward. So it's not like this, it's like this, okay? And then we want to keep the integrity of the tailbone curling up as you try to straighten your legs now, little by little. It's okay if the heels are off the mat, just slowly press the legs towards straight if you can. If you cannot, just keep them bent, but keep the weight back. Please don't go forward, you'll really strain your shoulders too much, okay? Inner knees have to spiral towards the back of the room because that way you can open up the sacrum space to access the hamstring flexibility a little bit better, all right? Okay, and then slowly you can try to ground your heels down. You want to lift through the kneecaps as soon as possible to protect the hamstrings. And here, typically you can have your feet hip width apart and try to hide your heels behind your calves. Ground down to the outside and inside edges of the heels and then lift your inner ankles. And that will fire up your inner thighs. Okay, so then you want to find stillness after you get into this position. You make all your adjustments. It's like a little checklist, you know, especially when you're just starting out. And then you will find an ease. And just focus on your breath. Your gazing point is your drishti, and then you look between your feet and pick one point and you stare at that and don't move your eyeballs around. Okay, and then pick up your belly button to the spine. There's your downward facing dog. Those who are more experienced and very open, you can bring your feet together, but don't be in a rush to get there. Okay, all right, so that's a brief tutorial on downward facing dog. Thank you for joining me.